Hello. Welcome back to the Lapdown Podcast, the best Formula One podcast that you've not listened to yet. My name is Dan. I'm joined by Alex, and we are going to talk to you about everything and maybe some things that we should talk about and shouldn't talk about. And I dare say we'll probably miss them things because we're not investigative journalists. For the Canadian Grand Prix. Hi, Alex.
Hello. Oh, Canada, etc. As we usually do, we had a brief sort of pre-pod chat there. And I said I wasn't sort of sure about Canada as a layout, and it's sort of it's very mid-tier for me, Canada. I have no overly strong feelings about it, pro or con, but you're quite pro-Canada, I believe.
Yeah, I like Canada. I like my maple syrup. Do you know, I've never had poutine, but I feel like I should have poutine at some point in my life. Yeah. Do you know, I don't know why. I just feel like I need it. But no, I like Canada as a circuit. I think it's one of those circuits, again, that falls into the category of it was better when the cars were less fat. Mm-hmm. Now that they are morbidly obese, like Canada's kind of south of the border cousins, doesn't necessarily feel like they work quite as well with a nice kind of tight, wiggly street circuit. But there are still an actual couple of places where overtakes can be done, unlike Monaco, where racing is just utterly pointless.
Yeah. That's the thing, is I don't necessarily need every corner to be an overtaking opportunity. I would almost go as far as to say, and this is sort of the Baku logic, I guess, of, okay, 98% of the lap is about getting yourself in a position to take advantage of the one overtaking place. And we can designate it as the overtaking spot if we want. And sort of Canada feels a little bit like that, doesn't it? Coming out of the tightest hairpin down the longest straight and then into a wall. But I don't mind that. I think part of my original appeal with F1, and we're going back here, 5, 6, 7 years, however long it's been now that I've had an interest in F1. And it was partially the F1 game alongside Drive to Survive, because I went, you know what, I actually kind of like the idea of chipping away, closing a gap, getting closer and closer, and just being 5% better than the car in front every lap until eventually, bam. And I think Canada is sort of one of those circuits. It's a chip away kind of circuit, and don't fuck up your one opportunity when you get it.
Yeah, I'll buy it. You've got the new game, haven't you?
I've got the new game.
Are you pro new game or anti new game?
I see. I've never been good enough at the game to be particularly angry about the handling model, which is the thing that most people seem to get worked up about. Gotcha. The new game's not worse. And at the end of the day, what more could you want?
Do you know the irony is how many people that have ever played a Formula One video game will have any concept of what an actual Formula One car handles and feels like, and then therefore be able to critique a handling model on a video game? I
mean, admittedly, I think the reason they critiqued it last year is you could basically turn the wheel like 180 degrees and you could just send the car sideways.
Yeah, but unless Lando says it, or unless Charles says it, am I really listening?
I think... And we won't make this a pod about the game. I sympathise with EA and Cody's a little bit because they're trying to make two games at the same time because they're having to make an approachable, accessible controller Formula One game. And playing F1 games on a controller is bloody hard because you have very little sort of fine control on throttle and steering and braking and all of it. So they have to make a game that works for that. And then I know you can get mods and stuff for, some of the other more simulation style setups, but they're also trying to make a casual sim that people are trying to treat like a real sim on wheels and pedals worth, £3,000 and all the rest of it. And you think, I know they cop a lot of flack and they do make some weird decisions, but also, I mean, it's not easy the balance they're trying to find. So, if I keep saying nice things, hopefully they'll send me the game next year as well, which is what that section of the podcast was all about there. That was just me buttering my toast for 26.
Well, good for you. Hopefully you get it. Should we talk about Canada? What's happening? What have you got on the starting grid for this week? Do us the Brundle grid work, AB.
My grid walk. There'll be a bit of paint chat, which is exciting. It's nice to have paint chat. And it's Haas paint chat, although it's sort of unusual Haas paint chat because we've sort of complimented them before on going out there, and they haven't really gone out there this time, but there is a reason for it. And then there's been sort of a little bit of news through the week. There's some Canada stuff. Some calendar stuff. Canada we already talked about. There's some calendar stuff. There's F1 75. Not that it would be 75. Might have been binned. We want to talk a little bit about some driver situations because there's a couple that are sort of flying under a radar that were very on a radar. Max is nearly on a race ban, and we've got an email about Lance Stroll. And then obviously we have to spin a wheel as well. So there's quite a bit to talk about, actually, because we've had a couple of weeks off. So where should we begin?
Let's start with Haas.
Let's talk
do
paint.
check, because this is the only element of Formula One that we have any inclination of any kind of slight qualification to talk about. Do you know, I don't particularly enjoy Haas as a Formula One team. I don't really know what they offer to anybody, and I don't really know how many people you'd ever meet that kind of outwardly come out with you and say, no, I'm a Haas supporter. They are my number one team. They are my side. I buy the merchandise. I get the T-shirts and all this other stuff. And I cheer for whoever's driving the Haas car this year. It's Behrman and Ocon, isn't it? They've been fairly kind of forgettable. Anyway, I do actually really like it when they get their paintbrushes out, because it feels like they don't miss. They don't miss on a special livery, Haas. We had the United States one last year. This time around in Canada to celebrate their 200th anniversary of a Formula One start, which hopefully both cars make the grid, because otherwise that would be embarrassing, wouldn't it? How could you... Actually, just thinking about that out loud, that's fairly premature. Should you do it on the race, or should you do it after the race?
Or is it their 200th Grand Prix weekend? As soon as if they do any media on Friday, they're fine.
Caveat it there, then fine. But I like it. It's a throwback to their original livery, and I like that. It's a smart livery. It's non-offensive, but they've done what they've done. They've done it really well. Yeah,
the Haas livery is... I said to you during the week when we first saw it, like my initial reaction, the Haas livery is sort of old school cool. Like, it just looks like a very nondescript, non-brand associated race car. Like, I don't know what it is. I think it's just a big... Like, they've just slapped the name on the side. It's big and it's red. It says Haas because that's the team name. And it's got a real heavy outline around it so you can definitely read it. And then sort of the sides are one color and the top's a different color, and it's very livery builder, but in a good way. It's I don't know why, it's kind of a warm and fuzzy old school livery rather than an old fashioned one. But yeah, I'm fuck with it. I'm on board. I'm in.
Yeah, no, I like it. It's kind of like, it's a bit of Y2K kind of throwback to that period of your life at the age that we are, where you go back and you go, oh, I miss those days. And this is exactly what Haas have done, and they've nailed it. And for me, not that I think we've had an outstanding amount of special livery so far during 2025, but that could be challenging for a gold medal spot come the end of the season for me.
Yeah, it's always going to get bumped down for me for something jazzier, because it's very unjazzy, the Haas livery. There's not a single note of jazz in it. I understand that it's, being based on something, so it wasn't an opportunity for jazz. Fine, get it. It's going to get bumped off by someone doing something jazzy at some point, but certainly in terms of, is it pretty paint? Oh yeah. She's pretty paint. Well done to the Haas team. Well, I think you made an interesting point as well about Haas.
Special blue Ferrari at some point, won't we? So
we've had it, haven't we? Didn't we get that already? We've had that in
I don't know.
Monza, I think. Genuinely, are there Haas fans? Like, it just says, like, I'm a McLaren fan. As simple as. You're sort of more a driver fan, aren't you, than a team fan? You sort of follow Mr. Hamilton around a little bit.
Yeah,
but
I've always been a Williams fan, but I mean, they've been so out of the race, it's been quite challenging to really kind of follow them. But yes, go on.
Is there anyone setting their stall out for Haas, regardless? And like, if so, for how long? Like, I know they're meant to be like America's team, but then they were Russia's team for a bit, and now they're sort of America's team again. Like, I like Ollie Behrman. He's my rookie to watch this year, so I kind of hope he does well. But I just... put your hand up, I guess. Anyone willing to admit that they are a non-ironic, non-driver-based Haas fan? Are you just Haas fan because you think Gene is top dog?
Do you know, with regards to Haas, is I feel like they are a team... I was going to call them a side there. They're not a side, are they? But I feel like they're a team because they are America's team. I feel like they're the one that could genuinely nail like the branding and the merchandise throughout. And I've just had a cheeky little look on the Haas official team store. And yes, there's some Duplo and some Lego and stuff like that on there, but we don't need to worry about that. But generally speaking, the Haas merchandise of various bits of lifestyle wear is actually really quite nice.
Is it?
And... maybe not now, but at the end of this, I'd almost implore you to go and have a look at it. Like, there's a really nice hoodie here with just the H logo on the front.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it does say MoneyGram on the back, but like, let's not get too kind of caught up by that. It's got there's another t-shirt here with like a nice kind of retro kind of ring logo on the back. There's something here about pizza and hot sauce. Honestly, this just looks really. Do you know what? As an adult, I do own a credit card, which is slightly worrying because I am looking at this now thinking I could actually wear this and kind of casually wear it and not walk around the high street of people going, oh, he must be a Formula One fan too. So, hey, kudos to Haas. You might have actually adopted yourself a new fan.
I'm on the web store now, and Ollie Behrman he's an attractive young man. I'm sure he's never struggled.
Only a child, so
I'm sure he's never struggled to find himself a girlfriend. Right? He's a conventionally attractive man. He is a terrible model. He is not comfortable in front of a camera at all. I'm looking at the t-shirt driver's Behrman. That is a bloke that is uncomfortable in front of a camera wearing his own merch.
Yeah, don't worry about that. He's there to drive cars quickly, not look good in t-shirts.
He's also changed his logo, Mr. Behrman, and I'm unhappy with him with that because he was an S-tier logo for me.
Yeah.
And he's now put the bear inside an OB, which is daft because there's already an OB in the bear. So now he's OB Bear OB.
Which is good though, didn't it?
Too many O's and B's.
Not the logo, the actual kind of day-to-day kind of gear of the Haas team. It actually does look quite smart. Genuinely does look quite smart.
Fine. I don't know where the hell this pizza and hot sauce setups come from, but
don't think too hard about it.
It's just a hot sauce bottle with a. Why is there a hot sauce bottle with a beard?
I don't know. But sure, okay, that's enough, Haas. We've done
also,
Haas now.
€35. That's not horrific by F1 merch standards.
Another tick in the right box.
It's 30 quid. 30 quid for a t-shirt's not great, but it's not terrible for merch.
Another tick in the right box.
I'm not buying it, though.
Honestly, we open that pot. We open that kind of piece of is anybody a Haas fan? And I think we can probably answer the piece by the fact that there's probably two now that are very close to being converted.
No. Still, it's a strong no. If I ever need automotive machinery, perhaps I will consider Haas, but I don't.
Fine.
I don't. Right. Let's talk drivers, I think. Where's Yuki Tsunoda been? Because I feel like he's disappeared, my Yuki. There was a lot of chat about Yuki when he came in, a lot of eyes on Yuki. And then he's had 4 race weekends now, is it? 3-4 race weekends?
Oh.
And it just feels like he's gone missing. And he's not talked about anymore, and he's not doing very well. But he seems to be under no spotlight whatsoever.
Let me see if I can kind of find how long he
came in for Japan, didn't he?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This will be his 8th Grand Prix.
He had that many
in the full team, and he's gone 12th in Japan, 9th in Bahrain, Dunf in Saudi, 10-10 in Miami and Imola, 17th in Monaco, and 13th in Spain.
We asked the question on this pod, what are Red Bull looking for and what do Red Bull expect from Yuki and what does Yuki have to do? Yep. And I would hazard a guess that those numbers are not it.
Yes, although I do feel like they've caught themselves between a rock and a hard place and probably don't have a card left to play, because I think the majority probably saw them as a bit of a laughing stock when they made that decision after 2 races in the first place. I think we're quite hard on the fact that it's Red Bull, they won't care, blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. But I think there will be an element of kind of marketing PR around it, in the fact that, yes, at the moment they do have Honda powertrains. Yes, they just ditched the bloke out of it for this guy after 2 Grand Prix as what can only be described as a knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah.
And I just feel like they've got to they've kind of boxed themselves into a position here with Yuki where it's like, well, we'll see how you go until the end of the season. Once we've parted ways with Honda, once we've figured out what we're going to do, then we can kind of go, oh, well, at the end of the 2025 season, we've reevaluated our driver lineup and this is what we're going to do type thing. I feel like if they did it now, or did it anywhere during the season after the Liam Lawson situation, I think it will almost be political suicide for them.
Do you think Red Bull are in any way close to swapping Hadjar into the seat?
Based on everything that I've just said, no. However, I can see probably the argument and the point that you would be able to back that up with.
Yeah. Because I
don't think it works, but I think they could.
It would be it would be a strategy change for them to not swap Yuki out, in theory, based on what you've previously had to do to get yourself thrown out of that team. Is looking very similar for Mr. Tsunoda so far. It could maybe be considered a time of growth if they did grow the fuck up and went, oh, actually, that car is, as we've said on this podcast a number of times, an absolute dog to drive that's being carried by a generational talent in Mr. Verstappen. Yeah. So we're just going to have to deal with it and we'll reset for 26. I wonder if the 26 element as well does... Save Yuki is unfair. Yuki's a strong driver, or but whether the 26 situation does save Yuki or at least buy him more rope because the deck is shuffled next year and maybe they've seen that next year's car isn't the same absolute beast that this one is, and that they'll just let Yuki sort of bed in, learn everybody's name, learn where the team, hospitality is every week, and then run it from next year. I mean, they've given up on the championship, haven't they? They've given up. Have to.
Certainly the constructors, yeah. And I dare say they're quite close to giving up on the drivers as well. I don't think Yuki's a bad lad. I don't think Liam's a bad lad. And I suspect they'll just kind of stick with something that's comfortable and known, and that'll be the end of it. But I'm going to keep the Yuki stats up because we're going to make a further discussion point about another Formula One driver in a short time, aren't we? But Franco, does he still exist? Is he still there? Is like what? So on a similar vein, what did Jack Doohan do wrong?
Yeah, we've got to be very careful here not to upset a fan base that come out swinging, because when they swing fucking hard. And we will double down on the fact that Franco Colapinto is the preferred driver of the Lapdown podcast. But, Franco, you're not making it easy for us at the minute, my boy. We're trying to be Team Franco. We're trying to be Colapinto people. We're trying to be Urbamates with you. But I'm poking him with the stick in the meme and I'm asking him to do something and he's not doing something.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're going full Milhouse Van Houten here, aren't you, with the stick?
Give me some numbers. I don't think I want to hear them, but give me some numbers.
16th, 13th, 15th for Franco in the Alpine, which, to be fair, he hasn't put it in the wall. He hasn't dunfed, which...
He has put it in the wall a little bit, just not in the long bit.
Yeah, but, I mean... I think we both said, didn't we, like in that kind of special episode that we did about Franco Colapinto, about kind of, do we get a little bit carried away with what he's been able to do in that Williams, and is he actually as good as what people like to think he is? He did have a fair few shunts in that Williams, and actually the record maybe flattered itself, and everybody in their best Argentine accent came back and said along the lines of, yeah, but he's only driven the car for like 5 yards, and then therefore you don't really understand what you're talking about. And that's a fair comment. I mean, we don't understand what we're talking about, and if you're new here, then you're in for a good ride. But when you compare it to Doohan's, and yes, there were 2 DNFs in there. The Miami one for Doohan, I can't exactly remember, but it wasn't really his fault, was it? If I can remember rightly, didn't they withdraw him? Didn't Alpine retire him?
Doohan was a fever dream at this point.
But anyway, like if you look past Australia, in the 4 races in the middle, China 13, Japan 15, Bahrain 14, Saudi 17.
Yeah, sounding very similar to some other numbers.
You're asking there to choose between your right and left foot being cut off, aren't you?
Yeah,
it's not exactly like one's come in and done an incredible job and the other one's really struggled.
Yeah. And it's exactly the same question that we just asked about Yuki. Should Franco start to be worried about his position? Is Paula knocking on that door at all? Is how mentally sound is Mr. Briatore in that driver lineup? Does he just like Franco? Is he going to get sort of preferential treatment? Because obviously, he does like him because he was quite keen to rush him into that. So is Flavio Team Franco? And there's a lot of rope there in the same way that I think Horner's always been Team Yuki. And I think there's going to be some rope there for Yuki while Christian Horner's still there. And I think maybe it's a Franco situation as well. But yeah, I mean, I want him to do bloody well. I'm not seeing a huge amount of him. But hey, he's driven an F1 car for 50 yards. So maybe he's going to Maybe he's going to settle in, and albeit one of those races was Monaco, and that's not really a great place to necessarily show yourself off in a brand new car. So, yeah, come on, Franco. Come on, the boy. Get it together. Get it together, please.
We need the views, Franco.
Franco, come on, my guy. Help. The few counts rely on you. The few counts rely on you.
Regardless of anything else, we need you, Franco. So please just I think the cool kids would say get good if you wouldn't mind. That would be mightily helpful. What's next?
Let's talk about Mr. Verstappen, because this kind of ties in a little bit, I think, to the Yuki and the other Red Bull drivers conversation. 2 questions for you. 1, do you think Max is actually at any risk, and we have covered this a little bit, but do you think Max is actually at any risk of being banned from 1 point away, or will he get sort of safety cushioned by the FIA and they'll find any mitigating circumstances they can, short of him deliberately crashing into a marshal? And 2, if he does get banned, what are the 4 Red Bull drivers for the weekend that Max Verstappen doesn't race?
How many points is he away from a ban?
Uno.
One singular point.
And he's got like a month or something, or 4 races, something like that. So there's some points going to drop off.
Yeah, this isn't the official kind of FIA document with all the points on it. It's obviously a kind of a what do you call it? Second-hand website, whatever the technical term is. And you just have a look through, and I mean, there are 6 incidents on here for Max. Mm-hmm. And you've got things like car 1 drove unnecessarily slowly on a cooldown lap in Qatar 2024 in qualifying. So that's 1 point. Now, bearing in mind, if you look through the others here, Lando in the Qatar Grand Prix, the race, which I guess probably adds weight to it, but car 4 failed to slow for double waved yellow flags, 3 points. I mean, that's quite doable there. Oscar Piastri, 2 points, causing a collision with car 30 in turn 1, 2 points. Car 81 caused a collision with car 43, 2 points. Liam Lawson.
But then there's also a lot that won't be on this list where they say, oh, but we thought there was this mitigating circumstance and that mitigating circumstance, so he's getting a warning or he's getting a...
Yeah, Lawson's got points for colliding with people. Stroll, funnily enough, has. George Russell, the driver of car 63, failed to maintain a 10-car length distance behind the safety car, 1 point. There are so many silly little things here that don't involve turning right into the side pod of George Russell to pick up 3 points that could qualify you for a point, that I don't even know if Max is on his best behaviour, he's not going to be kind of at risk of picking one of these up, because some of them are just inconsequential, but worth a point, apparently. But are they worth a point if you've already got the maximum -1?
Well, I think Magnussen, and it was pointed out last time when we talked about it, that yes, Magnussen did get an accumulation-based ban, but also Magnussen was on the edge of that accumulation-based ban for such a long time because I think he did get slightly, pillows wrapped around him to...
Yeah.
And I think... And that's the problem with data. There's the sentence. Obviously, all the recorded ones there that you've got in that list are silly little things that did get points. But then I think there's probably an untracked list that you could go and collate of very similar instances where, but also we thought this, and they find these mitigating circuits. So and consistency has always been something that we've moaned about, hasn't it? But
yeah.
I can't see them stinging him for 10 cars behind the safety car 1 point. Oh, it was wet. There was visibility. He had to lift off because he was going through this, or he thought the car in front had sped up. They will find a sentence, I think. But that aside, say it does happen. Say there is just doesn't slow for double wave yellows because he genuinely doesn't see it and they can't talk around it because it's a safety one and they're quick on them.
Yeah.
If Max Verstappen gets a race ban for whatever reason, what are Red Bull's 4 drivers for that weekend? Assuming it happens, within the next couple of races, which it would have to.
Well, I assume they would have to find somebody, wouldn't they? It was the young lad, wasn't it? 17-year-old Lindblad, who's just been early awarded his super license. I think he's 17 years old. So
I think he turns 18 in like a week and a half, by the way. So they pushed that through for no reason.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's somebody available there. They also have a whole host of others that could potentially kind of pop in and pop out, couldn't they? That will have super licenses.
But are you popping them into Max Verstappen's Red Bull, or are you bringing a Hadjar or a Lawson into the Red Bull and then a substitute into the RB?
I think going back to your point of the fact they've almost given up with those World Championships, I'm not really sure who it would benefit from doing that. Yeah. I don't know. At the end of the day, I think we can say quite confidently the fact that he isn't going to get a race ban. Yeah. Whatever he does, he isn't going to pick up that extra point, even though, as you said, oh, well, the reason why he did this was, the reason why that happened was because quite frankly, whichever side of the fence you fall on, I mean, Max is the best Formula One driver in the sport and has been for the last 5 years. And probably the sport doesn't work quite as well if he's not there. And one of those Grand Prix is going to be Austria, which is Red Bull's home Grand Prix, which is famously where you have that great big orange grandstand full of Dutch Formula One fans. So, no.
Yeah.
And I think one's Belgium as well, so that's basically a home race. And then quite possibly is Zandvoort not far away?
Yeah, it's around summer break, either just before or just after, isn't it? So, yeah.
Do whatever you want, Max.
Yeah, have a crack, son. Right, before we get into picking some drivers, and we have an email to read as well about the Canadian Grand Prix this weekend. The F1 launch event has apparently been binned. The F1, well, it was the F1 75 event that I think was a trial run to see, do we want to do a launch event every year?
Yes.
And the report is, it's not official, but the report is, no, they don't want to do it every year, and it won't be coming back.
Well,
now,
colour me shocked.
It's been a while. I could have seen them doubling down, and there's, to a certain extent, there's some talk that the Monaco two-stop mandatory thing is also not returning next year. And I don't know if this is a moment of growth from Liberty and the FIA, that they're admitting fault to a certain degree. But I can't decide if I'm disappointed or not that the F1 launch event's not coming back, because it was sort of not terrible and not great, and it just sort of what it was. That I didn't hate it.
It was, if we're honest, it was shit, but it was convenient shit. It'd be kind of like if you ended up with diarrhea. You wouldn't want that whilst walking down the high street, but if you had it at home, it wouldn't have been the worst place to have got it, type thing. And that's kind of how it felt like to me. It was terrible. It was cheesy. It was inconsistent. It was poorly thought out for the most part for multi-million-pound organisations and one overarching multi-million-pound organisation. I don't know how, I mean, the hosts were woeful. And anyway, but it was quite handy from a Formula One fan's perspective in the fact that you didn't just have to wait 3 weeks to figure out who'd launched what, and you didn't see a render of a car that you kind of thought, oh, could be, that looks good. No, it's not actually that at all. Or they've given you a couple of photos through smoke screens and you've gone, is it still red? Or is it different? So, look, it was fine. It served its purpose. I would quite like it to come back from a fan's perspective just because it was convenient. I didn't enjoy it, the fact that it was 2 hours. It wasn't a good 2 hour spectacle.
No, I mean, I will be slightly, I'm gonna come to defend it more, I think, a little bit. I that feels a little bit harsh from me, that assessment, just in, because we didn't lose really interesting, non-cheesy, well-produced car launches in favour of that. And that's where it was no worse, I don't think, than letting each team do their own thing. And it was actually considerably quicker than, because they used to all do bloody an hour of it themselves, and you'd have to find out they're going to talk about hypercars and all this stuff first.
Convenient.
It chopped all that gumph out of it, and we still got just as much from it. And it did force them to show a real car, as you say. We didn't see just renders and all the rest of it. So I'm a little surprised they're not doing it again. It just suggests that perhaps they didn't make as much sponsor money or, hospitality table money as they thought they might have from it, because I dare say if it was profitable, they would have done it again. But, I'm...
You're not going to lose any sleep over it, are you?
I'm not going to lose any sleep over it, but I will say I am probably... I would have been happier if it had stayed, I think, is where I think I tick over into that side of it.
Fair enough.
That's what
like
I'm going to say.
Like a 51-49 type job.
Not miles off. I think I'm coming to bat for it. I think I'm happier with it than you are. Certainly.
Yeah.
I'm not comparing it to diarrhea. Put it that way. That's not my first example.
It was fine.
It's not my first example. Right. Before we pick some drivers, we have an email. We have an email from two people. Hello, Ryan and Jamie. So Ryan and Jamie got in touch. Ryan did the typing.
Do you think I was going to say, did they type alternate letters or words?
No, I think Ryan's done the typing because it comes from Ryan's email. But it's, I assume Jamie sat next to him. So they've emailed lapdownpod@gmail.com, and you can do that too if you have any thoughts or questions or feelings or anything like that. And Ryan and Jamie say, my wife and I can confirm that we are not Lance Stroll fans here in Canada. I'll even take it a step further and say we kind of detest him. Let's be real, he's not in F1 anymore if he wasn't a certain someone's son. You put him in the same car as the other 19 drivers, and I'd probably place him as the 19th or 18th best driver, and the other two are a rookie and a half rookie. He might have a little bit of support in his home city of Montreal. I'll give him that. Now, my first question to you, first of all, I don't disagree with anything Ryan said there, and it's nice to have my opinion validated last week that I don't think there are that many Canadian Lance Stroll fans.
Yes.
Who do you think of the rookie and the half rookie that he thinks are worse than Lance Stroll?
Well, I mean, there's only going to be Liam Lawson as the half rookie.
That's the half rookie.
Who would be the rookie that's worse?
It's tricky, isn't it? Because I would do it. Bortoletto's not really impressed. Yeah.
But then his car's got square wheels, which is...
So I think Behrman's impressed.
Yeah. Antonelli obviously has.
Antonelli's impressed. Hadjar's rookie of the season.
Who else is there? Who are the other rookies?
Well, Bortoletto. Lawson's your half. And...
Maybe he's 19th.
Ooh, okay. Yeah. You get a lot of people come in and try and defend Lance and say, oh, he won loads in F3 and F2. And it's like, we're not saying he's a bad driver compared to the rest of the population. And this is the thing with sports stars as well, is that when you say, if we say that Lance Stroll is a shit F1 driver, that is a comparable metric to the other available points of data.
Do you know, because we spoke about that email before we started, I've actually got some... look, I am going to bring numbers to this podcast.
Oh, here we go.
And I have done for the last couple of weeks.
This is a bit investigative.
And I will do going forward, because I don't want to be accused of not being an investigative journalist. So, fuck you. Here's Lance Stroll's numbers, right? 174 race starts, 3 podiums, 1 pole position, best finish of 3rd, 306 points. That is Lance Stroll's Formula One career from... Where did he start? Force India Racing Point, BWT Water Pink Car F1 Team Football Club, all the way through to the current incarnation of which is now called Aston Martin. So that's his thing, winless. People like Nico Hülkenberg. Am I right? People think Hülkenberg is good. He's a good egg. He does well and all of this other good stuff. Nico Hülkenberg has had 236 race starts. No wins, no podiums, 1 pole position, and has accrued 587 points from the 236 Grand Prix starts, which...
It's a higher points per Grand Prix.
Yeah, but less silverware. Yuki Tsunoda. We've already spoken a lot about Yuki Tsunoda. There is a 1 year or 1.5 year age difference between Yuki Tsunoda and Lance Stroll. Yuki Tsunoda has now raced in 96 Grand Prix. He has no podiums, no wins, no pole positions, and has accrued 101 points from his 96 races that he's raced in. Based on that, is Lance as bad as what we give him shit for? Or is it too easy to think of Lance as in 2025 Lance Stroll and not give him the flowers for what he'd done 5, 6, 7 seasons ago? Because when you compare those three, and they're different sample sizes, different parts of their career, different ages, different cars, and all this other good stuff, it's not a massive difference.
No, I think Lance has always had marginally better machinery under him than the other two. Hulkford had a couple of seasons in the Haas where the Haas might as well have not competed. And Yuki has been cutting about in the sister team that has never, this is the first time the sister team looked any good, and they whipped him out of it, right, Craig? I think the problem with Lance and the reason why Lance gets dragged down, I think it's an attitude thing. I don't think he's a particularly personable guy. I don't think he brings a lot. Hülkenberg seems an entirely personable guy.
Yes.
And I think he helps himself in that way. I think there is a slight Nepo baby stance that people take, that he's going to be under more scrutiny because of that. And then I feel like Lance is more prone to something dumb than the other two. Yuki, when he doesn't score points, hasn't not scored points because he deliberately drove forward into a gravel trap on the outlap and beached himself and was out of the Grand Prix. So I think there's that side of it that I think Lance is maybe prone to something daft, and you sort of come down on him for that.
I think it's almost exclusively to the fact that he isn't a particularly personable character.
Yeah.
I think that's where I don't even know if the performance on track is the massive issue for him. And whether it is in relation to the daddy's cash battering that he's got through the course of a career that's made him like that. I can't remember what he was like when he started. Whether it is just his personality that he is a bit aloof. I mean, that's not an issue. It might just be how he is. But I don't necessarily know if you can afford to be that kind of aloof personality in a sport where kind of your presence to the general public feels to be as important as what you're able to do on the playing field, so to speak.
I think in to that point, Hulkenberg is, not overflowing with personality. And I looked at someone like a Pierre Gasly, feels very cheap supermarket vanilla ice cream in terms of personality, in terms of what he outwardly offers. He's not they're not all Daniel Ricciardos. They don't all need to be Daniel Ricciardos. I think Oscar Piastri is quite a good version of, you don't have to offer crazy amounts of personality, but you can be really likable still. And to that point, so to finish Ryan and Jamie's email, they go on to say, also North American F1 fans don't like cheering for drivers from North America. Now, we will say Ryan and Jamie are obviously providing, their opinion for an entire continent. But North American F1 fans don't like cheering for drivers from North America. Part of the appeal for us is the drivers from everywhere else in the world other than here. It doesn't mean we won't cheer for a Canadian if someone comes along who is actually likable. Cheers, Ryan and Jamie. So I think that does speak to the point slightly that at the end of the day, if you're cheering for a driver, you're cheering for a driver because you have to find a reason to like them, and that's probably going to be personality, isn't it? I don't imagine too many people are picking based on many other factors. Looks and personality, I think, are probably what are the two boxes you tick.
I would have thought so. Good news. Before we spin the wheel, and we're going to go circle back to the Haas merchandise, is I've just gone to close down the web browser for the Haas team, and I've just seen that you can sign up for free as a Haas Plus member, and you get a further 10% off everything.
Okay.
So
I'm still not buying a hoodie.
They're basically giving the stuff away, but that I just thought I'd leave that in there for that final kind of segment with regards to Haas. But the lap down Formula One World Championship wheel spinning of randomness, Formula One World Championship website.com, sponsored by something that isn't actually there yet. Currently, you lead 129 points to 116. We did bring in a new regulation for Spain, and we elected that actually we needed to shuffle said wheel in between wheel shuffles in order to add an element of fairness and randomness to the random Formula One World Championship.com/wheelspin wheel of randomness powered by lapdownpodcast.com spreadsheet Grand Prix. So we're going to stick with that.
You can just say random World Championship as well. That's what the cool kids call it.
No, if you've learned anything from the now deceased AWS powered by Gran Premio.made in Italy hashtag MSC Cruises Emilia Romagna Grand Prix, then you need to give it the full beans. But you get first pick, or first spin. Sorry, you don't get first pick, first spin.
Well, here it comes. We could do with a high-scoring week for the pair of us. And that's not a great start from me if I want that. Because it's Mr. Invisible. It's a Red Bull. It's the wrong Red Bull. It's Mr. Sonoda. I feel like I've had a little bit of Sonoda action in the past.
You had Sonoda last week.
Yeah. No, thanks.
Pointless.
Yeah, in a number of ways. It's not what we needed. It's what I've got. Right.
But he could be good.
He could be good. I don't think he will be. Don't think something's going to have massively changed. Okay, that's a nice balancer. Because Pierre Gasly's back on the wheel. Some of these drivers seem to come up a hell of, even with the extra shuffles on the wheel now. There's some weight being carried by some of these drivers.
Yeah.
I don't really understand how random probabilities work.
Based on the 2 spins originally, I'm not sure we're moving points.
Nope. So far, those points are staying exactly where they are. Come on, big money spinner. Let's have a big money spinner. Okay, that's better. That's better money. That's much better money. That's OP. Right. That's his first appearance, Oscar Piastri? I feel like we've had a lot of Lando. Have we had other papaya?
I had Oscar in Australia.
Oh, okay. We kicked
And
it off
other
with
than
some Oscar.
that, he has been absent.
Right. Okay, I like that. I'm happy with that now. That's a big money winner.
I'm less happy.
Right. And to go with your Pierre Gasly, you've got... Oh, dear, that's going to stop short, and that's going to be OB. Nice livery, though. Nice livery.
Good merchandise.
For those of you listening purely to the audio version of the podcast, slightly further up on the wheel was both Max Verstappen and George Russell. But it just passed over the top of Franco, Lance Stroll, and stopped on Ollie Behrman. Yeah. So you just had to make a slightly further leap, and you couldn't do it, unfortunately.
At least it's not Lance.
At least it's not Lance. So I look forward to pulling away slightly on the leaderboard.
Yes.
That's all that we've got to talk about with Canada. We will be back next week. Are we double bubble territory now, or do we have a week off after this?
No, because of the nature of the world, I think it's quite a fair distance between Spain to Canada and then all the way back to Austria, I think.
Lovely. Okie dokie. Got a week off after this then. Grand. Well, we will be back next week to talk all things what happens at the Canadian Grand Prix. In the meantime, if you would like to watch Dan go and do cricket-related things, you should be looking for...
at Dan Jads on the internet. Although I dare say, if you're not a Lance Stroll fan, the likelihood of you being a cricket fan at the same time is slim.
Oh, interesting. We have to check the crossover. We'll need to map that. We'll have to map that data and see what happens.
What about you? What are you up to at the moment?
If you want to see me play games on the internet, twitch.tv/Hey Look It's Alex. You can do it there. You can watch me play some roadcraft and lay down some roads in a disaster zone.
Can I promise your Twitch viewers that you're going to build a Lego McLaren on stream?
I don't know when. Probably, but I can't tell you when. So you're going to have to follow and hope to see it.
F1 related,
there you
crossovers, go follow Alex on Twitch and you might see him build a Lego car.
There you go. And you can follow Lapdown Pod on Instagram and YouTube and TikTok, and you're going to see some clips there. And you should like it, and you should subscribe it, and you should share it with a friend and leave us a review and all that good stuff. Lapdownpod@gmail.com as well, if you would like to be like Ryan and Jamie. And until then, we will see you next week to see what happens in Canada. Toodle pip.
Bye.